And the thing is, last week I did some 1980s dystopian stuff. This week, let's go into 2006, and this is how you do dystopian properly. It's another bucket of dystopia, but this time it's directed and produced by Alfonso Cuarón, and he also partially wrote it together with about 5 other screenplay writers, some of whom started on the project before he was brought in as director and producer. And it's based not overly closely on a P.D. James 1992 novel, The Children of Men. So this is a film called Children of Men. The novel was called The Children of Men. The story is quite involved and intense, and I really can't do it justice in 5 minutes. But essentially, and I mean very essentially, boiled down, the film is set in 2027, so about 6 years' time. Although the film is 2006, so this 2027 was in excess of 20 years ahead. The idea is the human race has no fertility by then, and there are no more children being born. The youngest people on the Earth are around 18 years oldish. Asylum seekers head toward the UK, which is the only nation state in the world with a stable government, but it has an actively as a result of this, has an actively harsh and militaristic attitude toward illegal immigrants. Theo Farron is a civil servant and ex-activist who has to help a refugee called Key, who turns out to be pregnant, making her the only human being on Earth who is, and has been for the past 20 years. Alfonso Cuarón described this film to the art department as the anti-Blade Runner in terms of not portraying technological advances. The shooting makes considerable use of references, and in fact it's not so much telling a story, but presenting paths of cultural references overlaid and overdubbed. In a very, very clever way. Theo Farron, the character, Theo Farron's cousin, runs a Ministry of Arts Arc of the Arts, in which rescued artworks are kept, such as Michelangelo's David, Picasso's Guernica, and the Banksy. Guernica, by the way, if you know anything about modern art, Picasso's Guernica is a massive, huge painting, very imposing, gigantic. The first time Theo sees Key pregnant in the film, her pose is like Sandro Botticelli's Birth of Venus. She's the way she presents herself pregnant. It's that pose. So there's another reference. Look, A Clockwork Orange was an inspiration for the scene in 2027 London. The kind of ethos in 2027 London, although Clockwork Orange is actually set in a fictional Manchester. Children of Men makes use of a lot of single wide shots. It frequently takes the attention away from the obvious thing that you're supposed to be seeing, because it's the subject of the shot, and then drifting the camera's direction, because you do have choice as to where you point the camera in terms of editing. It drifts the camera's direction to show what's happening in the background, as this too is invariably packed with references. And you can do these with these very long shots in the film. The scenes are frequently of recognisable locations within London, and the shooting coincided with the terrorist attacks on the London Tube. The Battersea Power Station scene, which is the Arc of the Arts in the film, has an inflatable pig balloon. There are actually lots of special effects used in the film, but you hardly notice them. Special effects companies in London, Double Negative and Framestore, provided lots of the effects and continuity of the shots. Many of the long shots are very long indeed. The long shot of Key giving birth is 3 minutes 19 seconds. There's a long shot of a country road ambush, which is 4 minutes 7 seconds, and a roadside scene where Theo is captured and then escapes is 6 minutes 18 seconds. But they're not necessarily the single takes they appear to be. The roadside scene was dismissed as an impossible shot to do, and it is dismissed as an impossible shot to do by the cinematographer Emanuel Lubezki, refusing to do CGI for it. They devised a camera rig with doggy cam systems, with a modified vehicle, which it swung the seats out to lower the actors out of the shot and had a tilting windscreen to allow the camera to move through that path. And the 4 crew, DP and the camera operator, rode on the roof of the vehicle. Despite looking like a very long single shot, it was actually 6 sections at 4 locations over a week and used 5 seamless digital transitions. The 3 minutes 19 seconds sequence of Key giving birth initially used an animatronic baby, but they took a second take with Claire Hope Ashety's legs obscured and replaced with prosthetic legs. And then Framestore, the company, Framestore supplied a computer-generated baby. Now, I won't go into the soundtrack. Really, there isn't time. But it is quite innovative and makes use of a lot of well-known music, but it blends it all in so that it seems ambient and occurs because of what we see in the frame. Children of Men, definitely worth watching. Very imposing, very impressive. Children of Men, 2006. Thank you very much.